Hey guys, Yoni here. Today we're going to talk about food, getting back to real food, and eating for health. So, first up, I just want to say I'm not a dietitian or nutritionist or anything like that. Never would claim to be. This is purely my understanding when it comes to food through the experiences I've had, my own research, and the mentors I've had and whatnot that have given me a little bit of knowledge over the last couple of years. So take from it what you will. But we're just going to get back to basic principles around food that are common through healthy people. So food can be very confusing, I would say, whether it's you've been told that we should be eating paleo or ketogenic or pescatarian or vegetarian, or if it fits your macros, or there's so much different theories and experts out there claiming that this is the best way to do things and that is the best way to do things and whatnot, that it can get very, very confusing. So I want to share a couple of stories with you, or actually one story with you from a guy called Weston A. Price. And basically it's about getting back to real food, getting back to, nature and what's available naturally here to us or in Australia. So, lean cuts of meat, poultry, fish, all different colours and types of fruits and vegetables and really, nuts and grains and seeds and legumes and getting back to real food that's alive. They're live organisms. They grow out of the ground. They're not refined or processed or any of that sort of crap. And straight away doing that, there's going to be a lot less calories in our food. There's a lot more fibre, a lot more vitamins and minerals and enzymes that are actually going to help our bodies digest them. So straight away getting back to whole foods, I'm a big believer in we are what we eat. So essentially what we eat, we digest it, it breaks down in our stomach, it's absorbed into our blood and essentially becomes part of the billions of biochemical reactions within our body, our metabolism, and essentially becomes part of us as a biological organism or a mammal. Essentially, we're all mammals. So anyway, look, this guy called Weston A. Price, he spent a lot of time with, multiple years, I think in the 1930s, with very remote indigenous cultures. He spent time with the inland and the coastal Australian Aborigines, the New Zealand Maoris, Alaskan Inuits, African Maasai, cultures in Sweden and Switzerland and all over the world. And basically, he noticed some pretty cool things. So these guys were very remote, they were very in touch with nature and what was available naturally to them. So he noticed that there was not one type of way of eating or food that worked for everyone and was the best for everyone. It was an individual thing. But what he found was people that were eating what was naturally available in the environment that they lived in typically had very good measures of health. And he looked at blood tests and chronic disease measures and photos of body composition and things like that. And typically these guys had very good health measures, which is really interesting. So the next thing he noticed was basically this was around the time when Western influence was really becoming popular and the 5 deadly whites, they call them, refined sugar, so white sugar, white table salt, flour, pasteurized cow's milk and white rices and all the products that have these as their main ingredients sort of thing, all the processed, refined sort of stuff that we typically eat quite a bit of. So as this stuff was spreading and Western influence really furthered its reach and began to reach these really isolated cultures, and some of the guys within these cultures took on this way of eating, he noticed that things started to change. And it was so typically these people that were beginning to eat this way, who had been very anti-fragile, so basically biochemically, structurally, functionally very healthy people, began to break down and start to degenerate. And he was actually a dentist. He noticed decay in their teeth and signs of malnutrition coming up in these cultures. And it was especially the next generation for these cultures that started to pick up a lot of chronic disease and diabetes and obesity and heart disease and all this sort of stuff that typically these guys had been very resistant to, and it hadn't been affecting them at all. Yet when this Western influence began to come in and they took this way on, things started to really turn around for these guys, which was very interesting. So look, that's pretty much the summary for today, but basically the focus for today's video is let's get back to eating real food. Let's get back to eating whole foods and, get back to eating, lean cuts of meat and poultry and fish and all different coloured vegetables and fruits and grains and nuts and seeds and real food. Let's get back to eating that, because straight away by doing that, I can guarantee we're all going to notice some improvements in energy levels, in mental clarity, in the texture of our skin. We're all going to probably start to lose some fat straight away, because there's going to be a lot less calories, a lot more fibre, a lot more vitamins, minerals and enzymes and things within this food. And metabolisms will probably start to improve a little bit. Lots of good stuff is going to happen just by getting back to eating whole, real food and cutting down on the processed biscuits and chips and popcorns and all sorts of stuff, crackers and alcohol and all this sort of stuff that isn't really ideal for our body. So we'll leave it there. Let's get back to eating real whole food and let's feel the benefits. I'm excited to hear how we all go.